Hello, and welcome to Monday Night Live, aka the Hangout Stream, aka the Chill Stream, baby. All fired up for October 17th, 2022, and brought to you by yours truly, the man, broadcasting from behind the curtain. You know who I am. Because if you don't know by now, you can visit www.livefreeliverich.com or simply Google this name and you can find out. Let's see who's in the house right now. Before the stream went live, hi, Awatha. How are you? I have a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and slide right inside my first segment of the night, where I like to shine a spotlight on some books that are currently available or coming soon to an online store near you. Yes, it's true. This first one's coming from Twitter, from Isla Golden, they, them. They write, whether it was chance or fate which brought them together, nothing will change the bond they share. Quote, one for those who would like to stay with a character for a long time and really get to know them intimately. This is The Colors I See by Isla Golden. All these books. Oh, let me get into the blurb here real quick. All right. The Colors I See, the Neva Aton collection. So I think this is the complete collection of this. Yep, this is a 4-book series. It looks like. The Reader Ready Award recommended read for 2021. There's nothing wrong with being different. It's wrong that people think there is. And in lots of ways, I am different. I'm too thin. My eyes are too dark. I breathe funny. I'm genius level smart. But I'd rather be an artist like Aunt Zelda was. Not that my parents like that much, since they'd rather I wasn't wasting my potential. But the thing is, I don't just love art. I'm seriously good at it too. Maybe not as good as Aunt Zelda, but still really good, even if it's not always easy to get everyone's colors right. That's one of my secrets, you know. The colors I see around people, the ones that tell me what everyone's feeling. Most people can't see them, but I can. And from the way Aunt Zelda painted, I'm pretty sure she could too. It's another thing that makes me like her, and something else that makes me different, that makes me me. And one I'm totally not above using to my advantage, because let's face it, what else am I going to use the world's lamest superpower for? There's another big secret I have, one which could get me into a lot of trouble if the wrong people found out. But it's not like I planned on fancying him. I didn't even realize I could fancy him till I already did. And there's nothing wrong with me trying to find out if he fancies me back. Him till I already did. And there's nothing wrong with me trying to find out. Okay, hold on. And there's nothing wrong with me trying to find out if he fancies me back, is there? I mean, I have his colors right there, just begging for me to use them. So I should try to figure it out, shouldn't I? Because I really want him to fancy me back. And then, but if he doesn't, that'll be okay. I mean, I'll make myself okay with it because he's one of my best friends, and I'd rather he was in my life than not. And if Aunt Zelda figured out ways to make it okay, then I know I can too. I just really hope I don't have to. All right. Not really sure what to make of that blurb. Sounds more like a journal entry than it does like a product description or a book blurb. But it goes on down here. This is a book about the entire collection. So it comes in. So this one book is, well, it's just available in ebook form, but it comes in at about 1,324 pages. So 4 books in this. The Neva Aton collection says 4 boys who are made to be friends, 4 stories with a bigger tale to tell. Sly, Zell, Jay, and Arian. 4 boys who meet by chance and circumstance, but the friendships they form feel more like fate. Brought together by their sense of humor, kept together because of the genuine bond they have for each other, each with their own story to tell. The Neva Aton collection is a series of magical realism books which have been designed to be read in any order. Each story is able to stand alone, but when put together, show the power the relationships around us can have on our lives. That is The Colors I See by Isla Golden. Now, these books, all of these books, come from the independent market. They are suggested to me directly by the publishers themselves, whether they are self-published works or indie press or small press works. That's all I ask, is that you guys are suggesting your own work and nobody else's, even if it comes from indie labels. But you are more than welcome to let people know, if you have an author friend or writer friend, to let them know that they can be mentioned during this live stream. And this next one comes from Rafael Sanchez. We've covered some of Sanchez's stories on here before, or works. It says, please spread my latest work, Praiseworthy Son. It's a story about 2 friends, one who struggles with his identity while the other is hopelessly in love, along with a love triangle, witchcraft, and society which hates them. It makes for a thrilling read. Good day to you, good sir. And this is Praiseworthy Son by Rafael Sanchez. Let's check it out. Yeah, so if you want your book, if you want to request a book, whether it's on the market right now or coming soon, it could be on pre-order, you could just go ahead, get in contact with me on any of my social media or join the Discord. Links in the description down below. What's going on with you tonight, Rainer? Oh, thank you. Okay, Praiseworthy Son. Here's the blurb. Mahmoud, a devout Muslim, and Tariq, an abandoned Christian, have been best friends since childhood. While a Muslim and a Christian. Interesting. Very already hitting with the provocative material I see here. Mahmoud, a devout Muslim, and Tariq, an abandoned Christian, have been best friends since childhood. While Tariq has strong feelings for Mahmoud and wants to build a life with him, he is preparing to leave Syria for Germany. Mahmoud recognizes that Tariq loves him, but he isn't sure of what he feels for his best friend. These two young men must enjoy the time that remains in their life together while avoiding the intolerant people in their university. However, strange things begin to happen once the football star of the university team notices Mahmoud and begins to bring chaos to the two friends' lives. 232 pages of multicultural interracial romance, multicultural romances, and romance. That is The Praiseworthy Son. Let's see what else we got here. Dip back into the queue. See what I have for you. Coming up from H.G. Ahidi. She just says, thanks, Shadow Faction, the genesis of an era where technology conspires with witchcraft to control the present and reshape humanity's future. Wow. Witchcraft and technology. Who would have thought? This is Shadow Fraction by H.G. Ahidi. Apparently, this is book 2 from a Shadow trilogy. I don't know if they are standalones or what. Maybe if she catches this live stream, she can inform me of how this works. But that's the book that she suggested. So we'll read the blurb for this one, and I guess we'll find out. Shadow Fraction by H.G. Ahidi. Here's the blurb. The second book of the best-selling series. Quote, everything I love about the thriller genre. An unexpected plot twist, a wicked villain, and enough suspense to keep the pages turning. That comes from an editorial review. Here's the blurb. After the disaster at Night Ridge, Sheriff Norris Cunningham is trying to put his life back together, but an unexpected call from an almost forgotten comrade takes him to the dark valleys of Willow's Heart into an investigation involving the ritualistic beheading of 7 wolves. Is it a madman with a vendetta against animals? Is it a sign or a warning? The answers begin to come up when one decapitated body is discovered in an ancient family's house, turns into several, and reports of missing people emerge. With NYPD detective Tom Nash by his side, Sheriff Cunningham sets out to find the killer. Tom Nash. That is a very Copper-esque name, I have to say. Officer Nash reporting for duty. But this is the genesis of an era where technology conspires with witchcraft to control the present and reshape humanity's future. Are they ready or unprepared for the occult crimes ahead. 300 pages of medical thrillers, mystery, action fiction. That one does sound intriguing, I have to say. I might have to check that series out at some point. All right, we got one more out of the queue here. This is from D. Herbert. Might have heard from D. Herbert before. How you doing up there? A Change of Life, an ebook by Diane Herbert. This is the story of a young female doctor who is setting up home in a new area after getting a new job. She is the victi. Uh-oh. Let's see where this one goes. With A Change of Life. I'm actually, I'm reading something of yours tonight, Rainer. Just a little FYI. Hey now, there's the cover. Quite a sultry cover, I might say. And here's a little bit of, so here's a little teaser blurb, and then it goes into a little bit more of an in-depth synopsis. We'll do both. Why not? It says, this is a story of a young female doctor who is setting up home in a new area after getting a new job. She is the victim of a form of home invasion. However, it is clear from the start that the perpetrator is not interested in stealing her belongings or money, but rather in taking over her life bit by bit. A Change of Life by Diane Herbert. Here's the synopsis. This is the story of a young female doctor setting up home in a new area after getting a new job. Okay, it continues. It says, over the course of a few weeks, she fights against losing control, but this man seems to know her well and constantly pushes her limits. He seeks to control her both sexually and mentally. Slowly, her options seem to disappear until she is forced into a way of life that she totally abhors, but cannot see a way out of. There is a sequel of sorts called A Change of Pace, and one of the main characters in the story features heavily there as well. So if you enjoy this one, please go and read the other. And appropriately enough, this book comes courtesy of Smashwords. Interpret that how you will. That is A Change of Life by Diane Herbert. Those are the books for this week. It was something I picked from your Substack. If you remember a while back, you shared a link to your Substack, and then I asked you if I could just pick something. So I picked something. It's something from your Substack website. Okay, so those were the books for this week. Like I say, if you guys have a book coming out on the market or already on the market, you'd like to get it mentioned during a future live stream, I'll add you to the queue. Just share a link with me. And those were the books for this week. I usually cover 4 a week. And after the show, post-production, I post on my community tab on my YouTube channel. You will be able to cast your vote for which one out of those 4 books you thought had the most text appeal. Yes. So in other words, which one out of those 4 books would you be most likely to pick up? Even if you're watching this on the replay, I encourage you, go ahead, share your thoughts down below at any point during the show on anything contained within this live stream, any subject matter on this live stream, and share your comments, because your comments matter. And I will be, what I do now from now on is I actually address comments during a live show. So I no longer respond to comments in the comments section until I've had a chance to address them live on the air. So I encourage you guys to, if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead, drop me a comment down below, and I will get to your comment during a future show. If it is, if it's a, more thought-provoking type of comment, if it's just like a, good stream or something like that, you're just giving me a quick comment like that, kudos or whatever, then, I'll just, give you the thumbs up. But yeah, if it's a more thoughtful comment, or if you happen to have something that needs to be said, for instance, in this case, we have a comment from last week's stream coming in. Let me just share the screen here. This one comes from Raphael Morwood, his YouTube channel called You Decide, but it's Raphael Morwood. He says, "Hello, Jonathan. Raphael Morwood here. Thanks for featuring one of my books again. First of all, Legion of the Damned is not multiple books. It's just one. You might be confused with my trilogy, the William Parker Chronicles." So that clears that up, because last week I covered a book called Legion of the Damned, and I remember looking on Amazon, you can preview the book. So I remember previewing the book, and on the inside, I think it was like the table of contents or something like that. It said book 1, book 2, book 3, but maybe that's just how he was titling the chapters. So there you go. It's not multiple books. It's just one. It's just one book. He says, second, yes, it's a fantasy. It's set on another planet that has eerie similarities with our own society and has a surprising twist at the end. So there you go. Thanks for clearing that up, Raphael. Let's get into something a little bit more spicy. There's been some let's get into a hot topic, if you will. Hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch hot topics to you guys, and then you guys either turn around and you create content based on the topic that I pitch to you, or you can just go ahead and comment on the topic, and I will address your comments during a live broadcast. And so I don't always pitch a topic every show. So what I do sometimes during this segment is, if there's new developments in a previous topic that I've covered, then this is what I'll do during the show. And I do have one. There was a topic that I actually pitched over a month ago now that seems to just keep coming up. It's now, lo and behold, more news is coming into the forefront on this particular topic. And that topic was about artificial intelligence and art. So my pitch was, is artificial intelligence even capable of creating art? One, more of a philosophical, metaphysical type question. But then a follow-up question was, what does it mean to separate the art from the artist? And can art become too far removed in this way? Now, I bring to you guys this week, there was an article. This actually just ended tonight. There was an article I discovered. This is going mainstream. This topic is going mainstream, people. And this article comes courtesy of the Business Insider. So let me just read from the article here. So some points in the article, they talk about the OpenAI. OpenAI is a company founded by Elon Musk. Just made its DALL-E image generator open to the public. That was one of those apps that I was talking about before, where it's like you put in a prompt and it'll just auto generate like a visual illustration of some sort, or a digital image based on the keywords that you put in the prompt. It says artists say they work for years on their portfolios, and people can now make copycat images in seconds. Another point is, but some AI companies argue that the new artworks are unique and can be copyrighted. So let's go into the article here. This article specifically pertains to an artist by the name of Greg Rutkowski. So Greg Rutkowski is an artist with a distinctive style. He's known for creating fantasy scenes of dragons and epic battles that fantasy games like Dungeons and Dragons have used. He said it used to be, quote, really rare to see a similar style to mine on the internet, end quote. Yet if you search for his name on Twitter, you'll see plenty of images in his exact style that he didn't make. Rutkowski has become one of the most popular names in AI art, despite never having used the technology himself. People are creating thousands of artworks that look like his using programs called AI image generators, which use artificial intelligence to create original artwork in minutes or even seconds after a user types in a few words as directions. So Rutkowski's name has been used to generate around 93,000 AI images on one image generator called Stable Diffusion, making him a far more popular search term than Picasso, Leonardo da Vinci, and Vincent van Gogh in the program. Quote, I feel like something's happening that I can't control, end quote. Rutkowski, who is based in Poland, told Insider, quote, my name is being used a lot to generate AI images, along with the names of other working artists, end quote. So here, let's take a look at some of these images here that they're talking about. Okay. So this, let's see, this first image here is actually of Rutkowski's work. So this is an example of his work, and this one is titled Dragon Cage by Greg Rutkowski. Let's blow that up here. Take a look at this. So as you can see, quite a stunning piece. Quite a stunning piece, I have to say. All right, now let's check out some of these AI works now. Now these works, these images were created. So specifically, let me bring them up. Now these ones right here that you can see were actually images that were created when Insider typed in dragon battle with a man at night in the style of Greg Rutkowski. So they specifically put in the words in the style of Greg Rutkowski in the prompt, in the app Stable Diffusion. And as you can see, AI art has actually come a long way. Let me get rid of this. We can zoom in here and get a good look. So this one, let's see. So this one right here actually looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. This one right here actually looks pretty. I think this one looks the best out of the four of them. Even though this doesn't really look like a dragon, looks more like a dinosaur, but that's kind of splitting hairs. The landscape looks okay. This one right here, let's see. Now, this one right here, I have to say, the landscape looks better than the first one. However, the quote unquote dragon looks like a hot mess. This just looks like a big clusterfuck, I have to say. But the actual landscape itself looks really good. So if someone wanted to Photoshop, they could Photoshop the subject from that one and replace the subject in this one. And it'd probably actually be a pretty decent looking piece of art. Now, these other ones are similar in the sense that the landscape looks all right, not as good as the other ones. And the dragons look kind of wonky. Like, I don't really know what the hell's going on in this one with the wing here. The dragon, the posture on the dragon looks kind of messed up. The wing looks all funky. The lighting in it looks good. And like I say, the landscape looks pretty simple, but not bad. This one, let's see, this one down here. This dragon doesn't look bad. This, I have no idea what the hell is going on right here. This just looks like a glitchy ass mess. And again, I don't know what these random shapes are. That dragon in the background could probably be salvaged, and the landscape is, the background is not horrible, but still pretty generic. It's not nearly on the same level of quality as Rakowski's work, I have to say. In terms of detail of the subjects, but the landscape looks pretty good. But that's not really the point of the article, though. The point of the article is we're talking about the artist's names are being used. So it's almost like their artistic style, the AI is essentially hacking the artist's artistic style. So let's go on. We'll see what else is being said here. It says the AI image generators create images that are unique rather than collages pulled from stock images. Well, that's actually news to me, because I thought that's how the AI was working, that it was basically just scraping the internet and just basically molding or morphing photos. But apparently it's all unique. So that's interesting to know, and kind of eerie at the same time. So the article goes on to say, a user simply types words describing what they'd like to see, referred to as prompts, into a search bar. It's a bit like searching Google Images, except the results are brand new artworks created using the text in the user's search terms as instructions. This is crazy. It's like sci-fi stuff, man. One of the most common prompts is to use the name of an artist to create something mimicking their style. Quote, people are pretending to be me, end quote, Rakowski said. Quote, I'm very concerned about it. It seems unethical, end quote. Simon Stalenhag, an artist and designer based in Sweden, told Insider that although he isn't against AI-generated art in principle, he does take issue with how some people are using the new technology. Quote, people are selling prints made by AI that have my name in the title, he said. Something like rusty robot in a field in the style of Simon Stalenhag, which is a super aggressive way of using this technology, end quote. That's an interesting take. I would say, you know what? If I would almost say that, like, if someone was to use like AI generated art and then like try to pass it off as their own, or just want to use AI generated art in general, but instead of crediting an artist, they are very transparent about it, and they say, hey, the art, say if they're making a book cover or something, and they use the AI generated art to make a book cover, and then they instead of crediting an artist, they credit they reference the AI app that they used, but then they also share the title or the word prompt that they used for the piece as basically as like a pseudo title for the quote unquote artwork that they're using. But then again, people can also alter it as well. So I don't know. But I've mentioned that before, where I think that if you're going to use an AI generated image in your products, that you should be transparent about that up front, and not be taking credit for that piece of art, or anybody else taking credit for that piece of art. Or I should say, I'm using the term art loosely here because, like I've said before, I don't really consider it art. It's just an imitation of art, a simulacra of art, which is kind of redundant, seeing as how art in and of itself is a simulacra of the human experience. It's just very weird. It's just these layers. Hey, Sam, welcome. Just talking about, we're talking about AI generated images and how it's affecting the art world. I'm discussing an article I discovered on Business Insider today. So it goes on to say, he believes AI image generators are, quote, not in the hands of artists right now. Oh yeah, that's the point I was going to make. So using whatever prompt you put in to generate these images, these art images on AI image generators, if that's the title of the work, then what that means is that's going to require you to disclose what it is exactly that you typed in as the prompt, as basically like a reference point. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the title of the work, but it's at least it's a reference point. It's a disclosure of how you, since the work itself is not being created by an actual artist, it's just being generated by an AI. Well, normally what people would do when they commission an artist, they would credit the artist that they commissioned. So in this instance, since it's not an artist that's creating the work, but an AI generator, then I guess it would only make sense that instead of crediting an artist, what you do is you reference the prompt. Like first you reference the AI app that you use, but you also reference the prompt that you put into that app in order for that image to be generated. So it could say image, or art was an image result of an AI generated image of whatever, and it from this prompt, however you would put it in there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of crediting an artist, you're essentially just disclosing that a generator was used. Now that would make it so you have to disclose that you used a specific artist's name when generating that image. So that's why I thought that this was an interesting point, because then people would know that whoever was using the generator, AI generator, was intentionally trying to mimic a particular artist's style when getting the image that they were looking for. So he said he believes AI image generators are, quote, not in the hands of artists right now. It's in the hands of early adopters of tech, end quote. Rakowski, who uses both digital tools and classic oil on canvas for his work, is worried that this explosion in imitation art means his style, which has seen him land deals with Sony and Ubisoft, might lose its value. Quote, we work for years on our portfolio, end quote, Rakowski said. Quote, now suddenly someone can produce tons of images with these generators and sign them with our name, end quote. It goes on to say, quote, the generators are being commercialized right now, so you don't know exactly what the final output will be of your name being used over the years. Maybe you and your style will be excluded from the industry because there'll be so many artworks in that style that yours won't be interesting anymore. That is an interesting point. So the article goes on to say, an explosion in imitation. More and more consumers are using AI image generators. OpenAI, which Elon Musk co-founded in 2015, made its DALL-E image generator open to the public in September. Before lifting the waitlist, OpenAI said the program already had more than 1.5 million users. Liz DeFiore, the president of the Graphic Artist Guild an organization that supports designers, illustrators, and photographers across the US, said that the ease with which AI can copy styles could cause financial fallout for artists. Quote, artists spend a lot of time throughout their career and make a lot of income on being able to license their images and being sought after specifically for their style, she said. So if an AI is copying an artist's style and a company can just get an image generated that's similar to a popular artist's style without actually going to the artists to pay them for that work, that could become an issue. End quote. The article says, U.S. copyright law only protects artists against the reproduction of their actual artworks, not from someone else mimicking their style. Some of the most popular AI image generators, which include DALL-E, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion, have policies in place to prevent consumers from using their products in certain ways. So OpenAI, for example, prohibits the use of images of celebrities or politicians. All three programs block users from creating, quote, harmful content by filtering things like nudity and gore. So the topic continues. You guys have something to say about this, you can weigh in on the topic. It's interesting. Now we're getting into, now that it's funny, I covered this, I pitched this topic about a little over a month ago, and now it's starting to go mainstream. Clearly now, because to be honest with you, I've never used any of those AI generators or image generators. Don't plan to. I just find it interesting in how it's affecting the indie scene and it's affecting the market overall. And I'm keeping an eye on it as this develops. And it is interesting. And I think obviously the reason why that article came out and it's starting to go mainstream now is because of the fact that Elon Musk's co-founded OpenAI has just gone public. So I guess we'll see how things develop as that goes. I would say, I would say if you're going to be using that type of stuff, I would say be very careful about how, now that we've read that article, I would say be very careful about the way in which you use those images that are produced through those AI generators. Because it almost sounds like there is a case to be made in terms of copyright. Because as the article states, that you're putting in the prompts in a search bar effectively. And basically what that's going to do is make it so basically be used as evidence. It could be used as evidence in a copyright claim type of case, I would imagine. Don't be surprised. Especially if you're using a specific artist's name in the search bar, because that implies intent, that the intent was to basically hack an artist's style or work, copy their work in some shape, fashion, or form. Now, I'm no lawyer. I don't know if that would actually hold up in court, but I'm just saying it's getting hairy. It's getting dicey. So it's nothing I plan on getting involved with. I'll just say that much. Not interested. I like my art the old-fashioned way, created by actual human beings. Thank you very much. So let's get into the news, shall we? Just a quick reminder that the Live Free, Live Rich Network is on Discord. So if you guys are real human beings with real artwork and books that you are working on or have out on the market, and you'd like to have me talk about your work during a future live stream, a future live broadcast, you can join the Live Free, Live Rich Network and just go ahead and share your links with me. Let's see. there's a spot for basically whatever you need, whatever suits your fancy, to basically fit into a live stream. So what I'm specifically looking at here is books, blogs, videos, crowdfunding projects, which we have one tonight. And also, this isn't just for artists, but also if you are, say, a content creator, you run a Booktube channel or something, and you launch reading events, or you're looking for people to join your book clubs, you can share links to that type of stuff as well. That's all on the Discord. No expectations of you if you join the Discord. I don't expect you to, you don't have to be chatting or checking in every day. And I don't really have any rules as of right now. It's just basically a one-stop shop for you to go there and share your links. Like, I encourage you to just literally just join the Discord, just so you can have some place to share your links, so that I can then in turn just log into the Discord, see who's sharing what, and I can just pull it up during the stream. So that would work, help me out. So help me help you, basically, is how that goes. Let's see, what other kind of news that you guys can share on here. We said crowdfunding events. Let's see what else we have. Let's pull something out of the queue. What else do I have to talk about from this week? Doorway to Nightmare. I was featured in the latest episode of Doorway to Nightmare, entitled Amber's Meat Suit. So you can check that out. After the show, I will be putting a link to the video in the description down below. Doorway to Nightmare is a full production audio drama. It's a mystery thriller genre of storytelling. And in this particular episode, you can find out when two psychic con artists use their spiritual woo-woo on the wrong widower. And a spooky twist entails in that episode. So if that sounds like it's something you fancy, you can check that out. Maybe support the channel. They're doing some good work over there. It's written and directed by Winslow Swan and edited by his friend Crimson McKenzie. Speaking of stories, the Storytellers Society is still accepting submissions. As of right now, submissions are still open to the general public. So if you guys have a story to tell, and you can tell it in, roughly 1,500 words, but it could be as short as 500 words, but not really looking for stories that are any longer than 2,000 words. And this could be any genre. Okay, this is a little side project that I've started earlier this year, where I'm looking for flash fiction, like I said, between 500, 2,000 words, any genre. This is a non-exclusive agreement. So this could be a piece of flash fiction that you may have published somewhere else, but I only ask that you own the copyright to the material, and you have the right to give me permission to publish it on my blog. And then you do that, and if your piece is accepted, I'll publish it free for public viewing on my blog, and I will handle all the marketing after the fact. And this is just phase one of this little side project that I started here. And I was thinking about, there's different directions where I may take this into the future. Like maybe I turn it into a web series. Maybe I come up with an anthology project that I could pitch to all the different storytellers, members of the Storyteller Society that decided to be a part of this project. And that may choose to opt in, where there may be financial compensation, if you will. All different types of directions. Like I said, this is just phase one. Try to generate, using that word, generate a little interest for the project, if you will. So if you're interested, link down below in the description. Let's talk about some art that isn't AI generated. And this is some news. Another way that you guys can use this segment of the show to your advantage. For you guys out there in the comic books corner of YouTube, you know who you are. You can reach out to me and share a link to your, I encourage you to share a link to your Indiegogo or Kickstarter crowdfunding campaigns. I like to cover those. I've covered comic book projects on the show before. This one is called Rift Riders on Indiegogo. And this comes to me via, let's see. I believe it's Adventures. Let me see. Shoot. Pull that up. Where are we? Oh, yeah, it's right here. Yes. There we go. I should have put that. I should have did that from the get-go. All right. So this is Rift Riders by Adventures of Piper. That's her YouTube channel. And this is her comic book crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. So let's check it out. I like these. I like seeing what you guys are doing out there. And I do like this. I do like to keep a finger on the pulse as far as what's going down within the underground scene. And it's interesting to see these projects pop up. And with crowdfunding campaigns, you're actually getting support from the actual audience, the actual consumers themselves, the people who are interested in the final product. And that's what I really like about this. There's a video, so let me get this. Okay, Rift Riders. Let's check it out.
When your timeline reaches its Armageddon, what's a kid to do?
I'm not a...
Snag the keys to your mom's experimental ship, of course.
That's not quite how it happened.
Drift aimlessly in the rift between dimensions, trying to figure out how to operate it.
Now hold on a sec.
Pick up a few hitchhikers.
Hi!
Hello.
And maybe solve a disturbing mystery that could lead to the destruction of reality itself.
You know, if there's time...
There's always time.
I'm not so sure about that.
Get in on the adventure with the Rift Riders on Indiegogo.
All right. Rift Riders. Looks 148% of their fixed goal. They had a fixed goal of $6,500. Already raised over $9,000, and there's still 15 days left on this project. So congratulations to you guys on this project. See Luke Stone here. I guess we'll find out who's all involved on this project. I know Piper is. So they have all these different bundles that you guys. Arrow Comics #1's bundle. You get all those comics for $50. Wow, it's quite a generous perk, I have to say. Oh, yes, the Piper variant. So Piper is an illustrator. I think she does I think her work is digital. Like she draws by hand, but it's done like digitally. I don't know if she does both. If she does pencils and inks as well. Anyways, let's see. Riff Riders #1, metal print, the collector's bundle. You get a little backpack in that one. Original art pages, 5 of 5. Those are already claimed. Okay, let's see what else. First 50 backers get a sketch card. It looks like those are all claimed. Hold on. Yeah. 169 backers. Those are all claimed. So this is 32 pages of sci-fi adventure and fun. Rift Riders follows the adventures of Israel and his friend Lunos and Rivia as they try to figure out what the green goo is and how it seems to have replaced an entire timeline. In a Doctor Who meets Peter Pan and the Lost Boys style adventure comic, elements of science, mystery, and pulp era action converge for an exciting story. Rift Riders. Stone, Steed, and Dillard. A full-color, standard-size comic book. First appearing in Hybrids #1 in August 2021, Rift Riders #1 is the first in a series of books that take you along on the gang's travels as they find themselves in a strange new situations while trying to solve the mystery of the strange green substance. The script is finished and is Piper Steed's first official full-length comic writing debut. Okay, so Piper, looks like Piper did the writing on this one. And has an alt cover. Some of the artwork here. Is this one doesn't mention so far? Is this like a family friendly type of comic? I don't know if it mentioned that so far. It looks like it would be meant for all ages. The art style, at least, kind of looks like it's kind of a kid friendly type of comic. That's pretty cool. What are you looking at? There's the team. The three amigos, the creative team. We got Luke Stone, the co-creator, editor. We got Piper Steed, co-creator and writer. And John Dillard, the artist. And Edgar Tavitas, colorist. They do have some stretch goals. They've hit the 6 a.m. Revia sticker. That one's unlocked. The 6 a.m. Israel sticker unlocked. 9,000. They did unlock the Lou Nos trading card. At 10,000, 5 figures young lady. Piper will wear her wolf PJs. What is this? This is news to me. I did not know this. At 10,000, 5 figures, young lady, Piper will wear her wolf PJs on all streams until Rift Riders finishes fulfillment, and still wear that grill sometimes. Plus, there will be a Rivia trading card. See, Piper, the reason why I know of this project is because I'm actually subscribed to Adventures of Piper on YouTube, so her YouTube channel, and I've tuned into quite a few of her live streams. She just goes on there, just kind of shoots the breeze. It's kind of a chill atmosphere. Sometimes she plays games during her live streams, and she's been trying to kind of bring a little bit of attention to this project that she launched with these guys. So as you can see, I think that's pretty cool that there's like these, you know, stretch goals, this concept of having the stretch goals. So it's kind of like it's up to you guys. I mean, I've talked about this before. Like, this is kind of like the future of entertainment and art, where it comes down to, if the consumer knows best, then it's up to you guys to choose. Like, if you guys, like, I keep seeing, like, the consumer, if you have a problem with what's being put out in the mainstream, then you need to start becoming engaged. You need to start being more proactive in the scene of and basically there are people out here that are trying to bring you the kind of entertainment that you may be looking for, but it's up to you guys to show your support in some shape, fashion, or form. Not necessarily just monetarily, but the way that you consume media and stuff like that also matters as well. Like, what the things that you choose to pay attention to, you know, you're naturally is what you may end up getting more of. Let's check out some of the variant covers. Only one print run. When they're gone for good. So there's one print run of this variant cover here. I believe this is the one that Piper created. Yes. I remember because I was like, oh, the bulge. Just thought I'd address the elephant in the room, if you will. Elephantitis. Stickers. We got some sticker art here. Slap those on the back of your laptop, if you will. And a metal print. Glow in the dark metal print. It's cool. The collector's bag as well. Shipped. Oh, they're also showing how you're going to receive your product as well. Gemini mailers. See, I don't know a lot about comic books. It's not really my bag, but I'm learning a lot about the industry. I will say that the comic books corner of YouTube is a very interesting corner of YouTube in terms of the types of characters and stuff like that are on there. But through the type of entertainment that they put on YouTube, I've learned a lot about the comic books industry as a whole. And I think that that's pretty cool as well. So these Gemini mailers, I guess, are the way for you to be shipping out your products to protect protect them and have kind of quality control, if you will. That is Riff Riders. 15 days left on that one. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's get into some reading time. So reading time. If you guys writers out there, if you write flash fiction, you have your own blog, you write flash fiction, if you write poetry, if you write essays, if you write book reviews, like in editorial format, like an opinion piece of some sort, I am willing to read those live on the air. Again, like I say, just share a link with me and we'll find out. This week, comes from Agao Chan, writes. He says, not sure if I shared this, but here's my short story blog. This is actually coming from his Substack account, his Substack from the Substack website. That his is Substack entitled "Showers, Nightmares, and Poop Breaks." So let's check this out. I had asked him. He just shared the link to the Substack itself. It wasn't to a specific article or story, so I just went ahead and asked if I had permission to just choose one, so I could read any one of my choosing, and he did give me permission to do that. But I chose "Sore Winner" by Ugao Chan via his Substack. If you guys share a link with me, I'll read a specific story or article if you'd like. You can just share a link directly to whatever it is that you want me to read. Okay. "Sore Winner" by Ugao Chan. What? Perlman barged into the isolated and heavily guarded control room, impatient and frustrated. He did not expect to be paged at this hour and actually had to come into this place. Usually, issues like this are handled by the delegated teams, the teams that the organization spent a fortune building, training, and equipping. "We are terribly sorry, sir." The site manager on call appeared to be as stressed as he should be. "But there's this situation, and we need your advice on how to proceed." "I'm here now. Get to it." It appears that we have a winner already." The site manager wiped the sweat of his bald spot with a paper tissue. "But a little early, but should be manageable." "But what?" Perlman went to the balcony, overseeing a giant dome. The dome was made of 128 triangle screens, each connected to a security camera in the final arena. Now most of the screens were empty, and only 16 of them in a cluster were showing live footage with a single living man in it. "But the winner showed no signs of infusion." The site manager shook his head. "He is unresponsive at the moment." Perlman walked closer to the edge of the balcony and laid his eyes on the 16 screens. It was a shirtless, bald man, sitting on the ground, holding his knees, his eyes staring at the ground before him, unblinking. There was blood and torn flesh and skin around him, and in a few of the screens, Perlman could see severed limbs and fingers in the background. "How many saw it?" Perlman asked with a frown. 47 of them. Right now, the viewer numbers are climbing as more of them wake up in their time zones." "Which is the winner?" Perlman recalled what he saw on these screens less than 3 hours ago. "This is number 13. He looks different." "No, this is number 6. The site manager coughed and wiped his bald spot again. "He invaded the territory of number 13, terminated him, and ate him. Then he was just like this since then. And number 13 showed signs of early infusion." "Number 6, that's the Mr. Good Guy contender, right?" Perlman frowned. "That's a first. Do we have a recording of what happened?" "Yes." The site manager nodded as he snapped his fingers at one of the engineers sitting in front of computers. But before he was able to elaborate, another engineer interrupted them with a panicked voice. Sir, one of the top sponsors just requested a full audit of the arena." fucking sore loser. Stay calm. Perlman raised his voice at the engineer. Relay them to the complaints department and tell them I will personally oversee their case. Just this moment, the bald and shirtless man shown on the screen raised his head and looked in a particular direction. For some reason, this move instantly made the hairs on the back of Perlman's neck stand up. He was already quite familiar with the positions of all the cameras in the arena. The direction this man was looking in was right where this room was. Sir, the recording is all ready for viewing. Another engineer turned back and said to Perlman and the site manager. The recording started with number 13 struggling on the ground and writhing in pain, white foam dripping from the corners of his mouth. Dark, spiderweb-like veins crawled all over his face and his exposed skin, all of which originated from the dark handprints on his body. These were the doings of his revenge hunters, the vengeful spirits of his victims. Infusion and an earlier one. It would have been a good ending to the tournament and much expected. A murderous con man and an arsonist straight from a high-security prison. Many sponsors betted their credits on him. And on the other side, only 2 of the sponsors had their credits on number 6. And his pool was the second smallest of all the contestants, just barely bigger than the scrawny tech nerd who died in the first round. Number 13's entire body became gray and stiff in just a matter of seconds. Then he stood in his area, not moving at all. How many were left when this happened? Perlman scratched his jaw. At this time, there were 6 of them. Number 34 tried to invade the territory of number 117. They ended up terminating each other. The engineer answered. No, I meant when number 6 terminated number 13. There were only 2 of them. After early infusion, number 13 invaded the territory of all the remaining contestants, except for number 6's. The site manager let out a long exhale, then shook his head. Even with incomplete infusion, he was quite a malice to behold. We have no idea why he chose not to terminate number 6, and we're not sure how a normal contestant like number 6 can even terminate an infused individual. And you're sure number 6 is showing absolutely no signs of infusion? How about abnormal cases? Perlman felt a chill running through his spine. He just was not sure why yet. How many tests have you run? All of them. The site manager hesitated. None returned positive result. And this is why those fuckers are requesting audit. No infusion. Perlman scoffed, replaying everything he knew about the contestants in his head. This made no sense. Every aspect of this arena was perfectly designed for this very purpose. In fact, the entire tournament was designed for this purpose, infusion. Even if a contestant had not killed anyone in the entire tournament, which was impossible thanks to the design of all the matches, they would still be suitably primed and prepared to be soaked and marinated by the omens of blood, flesh, fear, despair, and death. What about his revenge hunters? After a long moment of silence, Perlman asked. He had 3. Another engineer sitting behind Perlman answered. Number 3, 9, and number 99. All were terminated by him in self-defense. He took their attack without much fighting back. For some reason, all 3 dissipated after a while. Send in the extraction team. Is the extraction master in yet? Perlman sighed and asked. He just came in. The extraction team is ready as well, the first engineer answered. Good. Send them in. If somehow this is an abnormal infusion, we could explain to the sponsors and viewers. If not, we can find out why by examining him. On it. Roger. The engineers immediately started sending the commands. Before long, a group of 24 armed men in tactical suits carrying special enchanted weapons appeared on the dome of screens, with an old man in ragged gray robes walking with a crooked wooden staff in the middle of their formation. This was Master Roth. Even Perlman knew very little about him. All he knew was that he was a necromancer, maybe the last of the sect and lineage, and that he had hundreds of years of experience in controlling spirits and casting curses. The 24-man tactical team quickly formed a 120-degree formation around number 6 with their weapons pointed at him, while leaving a walkway for Master Roth. Master Roth walked towards number 6 one step at a time. The closer he got, the slower his steps became. Finally, he stopped, seeming to be observing the unlucky contestant in a catatonic state. After around half a minute, his voice resounded in the control room. What? Is this a joke? My apologies, Master Roth. My apologies, Master Roth, the site manager immediately responded. But this is indeed the winner of the tournament. For some reason, we observed no signs of infusion. We must suspect it might be an abnormal one. Master Roth, this is Director Perlman, Perlman added. It is true. The engineers ran their tests. No sign of infusion. But this contestant somehow terminated another that showed signs of early infusion. So we would require your knowledge and guidance in handling him. No infusions. Then there's no need to extract anything. No extractions. No sacrifices. Master Roth sounded like he was about to turn around and walk away. Master Roth, please, can you check once again? Perlman immediately said, because as you know, our technology and our tricks are limited and are no match for yours. And as a thank you, I'll immediately arrange additional gifts of flesh and youth for you. You have my word. Don't take me for an ungrateful conjurer, Master Roth responded with a dry chuckle. But prepare for disappointment. I see nothing from this contestant of yours. Even saying so, Master Roth stood where he was and seemed to be getting started. First, he raised his right hand and uttered a prayer of sorts. Secondly, he took off his ragged robe and took a metal chain off his neck. The moment the metal chain touched the ground, the lights in the control room flickered and the temperature in the room dropped. Perlman shivered. Even after all these years, he still could not get used to it. Yes, somehow, at the same time, number 6 looked up from the ground, his eyes opened wide, staring at Master Roth. All the tactical team members tapped a button on the left side of their helmets at the same time, and the engineers in the control room activated the soundproof barrier. It was one of the first things any newbie to the organization should absolutely memorize. Under no circumstances should they hear the chants of an extraction master. The moment Master Roth's lips started moving, number 6 jumped up from the ground. With his eyes and mouth open wide, his arms extended, he lunged right at the extraction master. This was nothing uncommon. All but 2 of the previous winners lashed out at the extraction masters when being extracted. Survival instincts. Master Roth simply put his crooked staff in front of him and unleashed an explosive shockwave. It should have blasted number 6 away, just like it did the other winners. It should, but it didn't. The bald, slightly pale and scrawny-looking number 6 was not impeded by the shockwave at all. Instead, the crooked wooden staff fractured and green flames burst from the cracks. Master Roth's right arm was instantly engulfed in the green flames. In less than a second, his entire right arm turned to ashes. Number 6's slender and pale fingers with dirtied and blood-stained nails dug into the bony body of Master Roth. Master Roth seemed to have tried to fight back, but his body, covered with grafted faces and eyes, impervious to even rifle blasts at a point-blank range, was torn apart on the spot. The tactical team immediately opened fire on number 6. Energy blasts and plasma shots rained down on this slim, half-naked man. Dust rose, broken pieces of the ground flew everywhere. But when the dust settled, all they saw was some small, torn-up pieces of Master Roth. Both number 6 and the main parts of Master Roth were gone. Fuck! Where is he? Where is he? Perlman immediately started looking at the dome, but none of them had number 6 inside. Turn up all perimeter detectors and to maximum capacity now, the site manager immediately yelled. The screams of a few engineers behind Perlman caused his entire body to tense up and froze for a short moment. When he turned back, he could see number 6, the Mr. Good Guy contestant, kneeling in a corner of the control room, holding a piece of Master Roth's body, goring on it. Pale green flames and smoke rose from his mouth as he bit and chewed. His eyes were wandering, seemingly examining everyone in the control room. There was no sign of forced entry in the room. The metal door remained locked and without a scratch. There it is. Agao Chan. Quite a wordsmith, I have to say, when it comes to imagery. I did enjoy the action on that one. So let's get into... thank you for contributing that, Agao, or Rainer. And again, like I say, if you guys have something to share, just share a link with me. You can get my first impressions, if you will, some thoughts on it, a little bit of commentary, perhaps, especially if it's like an opinion piece or an essay. It could also be poetry as well, and I may try to interpret what is meant through the poetry. Of course, it would just be my own specific opinion on the matter. And now let's get into, have one more segment for tonight where I feature a video contribution. And videos in the same vein, it could be just about anything. If you do a web series or you do storytelling online, if you read your own poetry and upload videos of that online, I may feature those videos during a live stream. Also, if you do like Booktube, Authortube, anything like that, you tag me in a video, anything like that. And this one comes from the Authortube realm of YouTube. Let's see who we have here. This is somebody that is new to me, but just recently subscribed after discovering him, is Sean Holt. He just shares a video, a writing update. So this is a video about his own writing and also about some books that he's reading. The video is kind of split in half. So what I'm going to do, since it's a little bit on the longer end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the first half of the video, and I'll have the video linked down below for you guys if you wish to see what it is that he's reading. But I'm just going to watch the first half of the video where he's talking about his own writing. So this is his writing update from September. So this past month, September 2022, on his book, Keeping Fire, second draft. So let's check this one out. Okay, let's see what Sean has to say.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean, and today I am doing the September update for my writing. So let's get into it. In September, I started the second draft of Keeping Fire, which is the third book in the Samuel Creed series. The first book, Keeping Creed, the second book, Keeping Strong. The first draft was 52,000 words, which is definitely on the short side. Keeping Creed was 129,000 words, or 393 pages. Keeping Strong was 124,000 words, about 377 pages. So for this series, I would like it to be somewhere in the vicinity of 129,000 words, about 380 pages. That is ideal. So doing 56,000 words for the first draft is definitely not ideal. I wrote these books pretty much back to back. I finished Keeping Creed, then I pretty much immediately started working on Keeping Strong. I finished Keeping Strong, and then I immediately wrote Keeping Fire. But what happened in that book was I just really ran into a problem towards the end. The main problem I had was that I want the villain in the book to be really smart, and I want him to outsmart all of the main characters. But here's the problem. All of the main characters, and there's like about 6 of them, maybe 5, I want them all to be very smart themselves. So how exactly do I have this villain be smarter than them when these characters, the main characters, are smarter than me? So how do I write them and make them smart? But I have to make the villain smarter than them. But in the end, they need to outsmart the villain. So ultimately, everyone is just too smart for me. And that was kind of a problem. And I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with the villain. I had ideas a little bit for what could happen, but I didn't know like the full story, how he outsmarts them, what they try to do that shows they're smart, but he is smarter, and how in the end they outsmart him. It's just too smart for me. So in the end, I was really struggling with writing Keeping Fire, the third book. And apparently 56,000 words in, I was just like, you know, I've done all I can with this. I'm just going to have to move on and call it quits for the first draft. So that is it. 56,000 words is all I have to work with. The whole storyline about the antagonist, I need to write almost from scratch. I'm not even positive of the guy's name. So just the essence of the plot of the book. The book deals with the kidnappings of those schoolgirls in Nigeria. So it's based on real events. And Samuel Creed, the main character who works in counterterrorism, is basically on that job. So he is working to save those girls who have been kidnapped in Nigeria. The title comes from the main character. Genevieve Fire is one of the kidnapped schoolgirls, and that's where the book title comes in, Keeping Fire. If you don't know the story about the kidnapped schoolgirls, I think it was around 2009, 2010, I'm not sure, where this terrorist group in Nigeria kidnapped hundreds of schoolgirls. So that is all real, and many of them have not.
That's absolutely crazy. I want to say I vaguely remember that story or hearing about that story. I don't know. I have to look into that.
Been rescued yet, and yeah, not good. So that is what Sam is working on. At the same time, from the family side of things, because the series is very much like split between action-y counterterrorism stuff and family story. On the home front, Sam's fiancée, Tessa, is having sickness, which she can't quite explain, but she's getting real nauseated and stuff. So it should be obvious to everyone that she is pregnant, but the tests she is doing show that she is not pregnant. So in short, this book, Keeping Fire, is the pregnancy book. There is a lot of pregnancy in the book. That is all I will say about it. Okay, so starting out with the second draft, the first thing that really struck me was that I have not done a second draft in a while. The only things I've done have been like final drafts and first drafts. So I did the final draft of Syrian Dander, and then not long after that, I did the final draft of Keeping Strong. And then after that, I did the first draft of Ottoman Destiny and then Arabian Dawn.
I'll say, on a personal note, like how I do my writing, like I don't even call them drafts. Like, yeah, okay, correction. I do have a draft. I have a first draft, and then I have what I would call a working final draft. So, like, because like I'm the type of person, like I will constantly do revisions. So like if I don't stop working, like if I don't stop working on a particular story, then I'll just keep going and going. I'll keep like changing some things, not necessarily like changing the whole story itself, because usually like if I get a story idea, I'm pretty good about sticking to that, to a particular point. Usually I have like some plot points that I want to make during the story, and I stick to those key plot points that I want to make during the story. But the ways and the routes and the paths in which I get to that point, those different plot points may change or become altered, or the type, or especially dialogue. Dialogue is another thing. Like if I'm always like maybe tweaking dialogue, and then also descriptions, different things like that. The type of like for instance, like if I come up with like certain metaphors or something like that that I might want to incorporate later on, but always tweaking it. And like line by and line edits too. Line edits are another thing. Like if I could say the same sentence but in a different way, rewording sentences, I can get lost in that whole process if I don't just like put something down. So I guess that's like something else that we could talk about. For some you authors out there, you may be watching this, if you want to leave a comment a little bit about your process in terms of drafting. Do you do first draft, a revised draft, a final draft? How many drafts do you do? So like I said, for me, it's kind of a gray area. I have two drafts. I have a first draft where I just go through the story, just get all the words down on the page, go through the story. Maybe I'll do a little bit of tweaking as I go along. And then I have my working final draft. But other than that, it's all gray area in between, where like there could be just days where I go in, maybe I tweak the first section, tweak the second section, or maybe I spend one day just tweaking some dialogue. It's not really drafts. At least not like how in the olden days when I was growing up in elementary school, and you would literally have drafts, handwritten drafts, because you would do a first draft and then it would go through editing process, and then you would have no choice but to rewrite it because the page is just filled with like red ink, for spelling errors, punctuation, revisions, footnotes, all that stuff. So then you would go through and have a revised draft where you write the whole thing out all over again. Yes, kids, it's true. We used to be insane back in the day, and we would hand write stories over and over and over and over again, the same story over and over again on sheets of lined paper. It's crazy when you think about it. I never had a typewriter. Side note, I never had a typewriter. And I was already in middle school. I was in middle school before, actually, no, I was in high school before I had an actual PC with a printer in my home. So I was like 15 or something like that. 15, 16 years old before I had an actual personal computer in my home that was hooked up to a printer. But word processing was available at the library, though. You could go there and you could type up, or you could just use the libraries at school.
So when I started the second draft of Keeping Fire, it was kind of peculiar to me because it's like I already had something written, but it's not to the editing stage yet. So it's just real interesting for me. To quickly recap, I do 7 drafts of my books. The first 3 drafts are done on the computer, and that's writing related. After that, the next drafts 4, 5, 6, and 7 are done. I order a proof copy of the book. I order a copy of the book itself, and I edit it with a red pen. And those I call the red pen drafts. So that's draft 4, 5, 6, and 7.
It's funny that you say that. I would do something similar to that. When I first started writing the short stories, I do have some paper copies of the manuscripts. I do print out paper copies of my manuscripts. And first, what I would do is I'd print out the paper copy of the manuscripts, and I would go in with a highlighter, and I would highlight. I would read through the work, and I would do like highlights. But what I found for me personally is it was actually more of a pain in the ass for me to like then turn around, open up Word, and then now I'm looking at the paper copy, and then I got to look at the paper copy for reference, and then I got to go back and find that reference point on the Word document on my computer, then keep looking back at what it is that I highlighted, look for that part on the Word doc. See, it was like a whole thing. It was just adding extra steps when for me it's just I just edit it all in Word, and it's piece cake.
And that's purely editing. So starting out with the second draft,
However, I will say that it's fun. It is enjoyable to hold, the paper copy of your manuscript and then take that, and then you can go somewhere comfortable. Like say you could go to the park or something like that, and just be flipping through the pages with a highlighter and just be chilling outside or something like that while you work. But I suppose you could do the same with a laptop.
Main thing I kind of do is I essentially rewrite the book as I go. So I will pretty literally have like the paragraph I wrote like beneath where I am at the cursor, and I will just retype the whole thing out, but I will rewrite it as I go. So what I do basically is I take the old draft and I beef it up to my current writing standards, and I do that just by rewriting the book as I go. I got to a part about 10 chapters in, however, where I definitely needed to start deviating because what I saw I had written, it just did not work. So I knew right away I have to rewrite this at this point. So what I did is I took just basically all of the stuff I hadn't gotten to yet, and I put that in a separate file. And I just title it like edited out. And what I do as I write from this point is I may look at that folder and pick scenes out that I'd written before. For instance, there was a scene that I wrote in the first draft where Sam, Tessa, and Rose go out for pizza. So what I did is I realized the point I'm currently at in the second draft, I could use that scene. So I took it out of the edited out folder and moved it back into the second draft and rewrote it as I usually do, rewrote it into the book. So this way I just use up these scenes that I have from the first draft, but in a different way. So basically it's like I put them in a vault and I take them out whenever I can use them. And if something just never comes out of that vault, it just gets cut from the book. Yeah,
That's another question, I suppose, that kind of comes up is, do you guys write your scenes out of order, or do you just write your book like all the way straight through, like from beginning to end? Like for me, I write linearly. So like I write the story, start it from the first scene, and I have to write it all the way through to the end. However, the way that I'm imagining this story, though, as it plays out, is that I'm getting ideas for future scenes. So sometimes the reason why I bring that up is because it's like I'm kind of a plantser in that sense. So like I'll have, like I said before, specific plot points that I'm going to want to make during a story. It's just I'm kind of pantsing the beats, if you will. So it's the beats that I'm pantsing, but it's the plot points that I'm planning. There you go. That's a tongue twister. But when it comes to writing, the scenes, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. However, sometimes there are specific scenes that I want to incorporate in the story. So where sometimes I kind of gets a little dicey is when I'm writing the story, I'm approaching a certain plot point that I want to make. However, there's a specific scene that I had an idea of and I was imagining, but I just haven't quite figured out a way how to incorporate that scene within the story itself. So it's almost like there are certain scenes within my stories that I could have went off to the side and I type out those scenes individually, but then have to try and figure out how to bring those scenes into the story after the fact. And that's why I don't do that. I mean, I could do that, is what I'm saying, is there are some specific scenes in my stories that I thought of well ahead of time before I even started chapter 1 or the first section. And I could have written those scenes, but I just know that, you don't, once you get going, like if you're a pantser, like, like once you get going with a story, you don't necessarily know exactly in what direction or how things are going to play out until you get there. So for me to write a scene ahead of time, it just wouldn't work with my specific writing style. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. If you leave a comment down below, let me know what you guys do, you guys' thoughts on that, writing scenes out of order, whatnot, and I'll address that during a live stream.
I'm at 36,000 words. Basically, the second draft is up to there. I still have my vault, though, of edited scenes that I've cut from the book. And gradually, as I go, I may work those scenes back into the book. But for now, the book is at 36,000 words. I'm actually pretty happy with that because, like I say, I want to get on target for about 125,000. I'm at 36,000. And where I am at in the book, I think I would be around 15% into it. So if I'm at 36,000 words, I don't want to do the math right now, but I would be fairly close to 125,000. So I think I am pretty good for pacing. I am kind of running into a problem with this book, however. And what it deals with is I am struggling with how to present the storyline about the kidnapped Nigerian girls, because it's just such a dark, dreary thing to write. I really don't want to write about that. It's like so traumatic. And also, since it's based on real events and real people, it's just uncomfortable writing that. And something that's very difficult is to write it in a way that doesn't feel like exploitative. So I'm torn whether I should just be descriptive about these scenes or if I should be more just imply what's going on. I don't know. That's difficult.
It's not my place to say what you should or should not do, but I would almost think that in a situation like that, I think probably capturing the mood and the atmosphere would be the biggest thing. The biggest thing would be the mood. So the way that you write that is going to, like, the type of voice that you use is going to matter the most. So in other words, you want to be very, I would say, to be, if I was doing something like that and it was based on a real event, I would be very mindful about the tone of voice that I use in my writing. So if it's something very serious like that and you want it to be taken seriously, then probably stay away from any kind of silly wordplay or anything that might kind of make light of it, or make light of the situation, and try to make it more of, I mean, it depends what kind of angle you want to go on it. I mean, if you wanted to you could make it immersive, then you're going to add more imagery. And that's going to kind of like create a type of vibe where the reader becomes immersed in the scenes and kind of feels like they're there when it's happening and what's going on. Could be confusion, delirium, fear, and it kind of evoke these types of emotions. But at the same time, the tone of voice in the writing is taking the situation very seriously. In other words, that it's no joke. This is something, it's that because you're basing it on something like, this is something that happened, like, and this is kind of like in a fictional way, this is kind of how something like that would go down, type of deal. That would be my 2 cents on that.
And readers will be split on which one they would want. Some readers would want to know all of the details. Others would not want to get into that at all because it'd just be too traumatic. What I'm considering doing is writing in the introduction of the book that these scenes in the book will be very dark, traumatic. They are based on real events. So if people do not want to deal with that, they could skip those scenes and they will still understand the book. The problem kind of with doing that is then I think, well, if you could just skip all of these scenes, then why are they really there? If the book works without them, why should I write them? But again, it comes back to some people would like to read these scenes. But then on the other hand, I don't want it to feel like exploitative, like people get kicks.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's not going to feel exploitative if people, there's artistic merit in that. So in other words, like, there's a point and there's a purpose to writing the scenes. If the point and the purpose of writing the scenes is to illustrate how this type of, kind of capture just how visceral reality, how visceral the reality of the situation is, then there's artistic merit in that, and it wouldn't be taken as exploitive. I mean, of course, it would just be, people will have their own opinions, and I would just say, don't write for the sake of others. Write the story that you want to write. But of course, there are ways that you can go about doing it. And I would just say, from one writer to another, that I mean, you could have you could put in like a trigger warning of some sort in the beginning of your book, as kind of a courtesy, I suppose. But really, I wouldn't say that, it could just be skipped, because it's part of the complete piece. It's part of the work itself. It adds, I would argue that it actually adds to the artistic merit of the piece, rather than take away or exploit, use something else. In other words, you're not creating this scene just for shock value. Okay. So there would be a ways that you could write it so, like, it's not just interpreted as if it's just for shock value. Now, does that mean people aren't going to interpret that way? I mean, how people read books is out of your control. So, at the end of the day, probably not something that you need to be too concerned about, but at least I can tell by the way that you're talking here that you are pretty genuine. You seem pretty genuine with your intentions as far as like what you are trying to do with the piece. So I would say if people have a problem with what you write, just go ahead and direct them to this video, and it kind of serves as proof positive as far as that goes.
Off of reading these scenes, or that they enjoy reading these scenes. You should not really enjoy reading these scenes. They're not good scenes. They're traumatic. So it's just real difficult how to write those storylines. The other problem with it is a lot of the book is actually meant to be kind of like family friendly and humorous and stuff. So I mentioned I'm working on a scene right now where Sam, Tessa, and Rose go out for pizza. And that scene is pretty funny. But this is the problem. At the same time this pizza scene is going on, there is something really bad happening in Nigeria, which I would want to show. So how do I exactly go from one scene to the other? How do I go from this lighthearted, funny pizza scene to this real traumatic scene in Nigeria? Especially the way the pizza scene is written, because it's very much kind of breaking the fourth wall. It's a really ridiculous scene. But the scene that follows is meant to be real serious. So if I have it in the reader's mind that this book is like lighthearted and it's not serious, and then I try going into something serious, I think the readers would be shocked by it, kind of like, what? I thought this book was a joke. You just kind of made me think this book isn't real serious. It's a comedy. And now you want me to get serious about this scene? You want me to have emotional investment in this scene? It's real difficult. So it's a challenge how to write that. Through the whole series, really, this is an issue. How
you can show contrast. You're talking about contrast, writing contrast. That's juxtaposition. You just use juxtaposition. So you're writing one scene that's a lighthearted scene, and then the other scene, and then kind of doing almost like a side by side is what I'm gathering here. So you're writing one scene where it's all lighthearted, everything's puppy dogs and ice cream, and then there's a side by side scene taking place at the same time where things aren't all rainbows and gumdrops. Is basically what I gather, and that's perfectly fine. I don't. Like, that's just called juxtaposition, and that's going to be based on the readers. Like, some readers will understand what it is that you're doing, and that's just you're writing contrast. You're contrasting these two scenes together, where there's people who are comfortable and they feel comfortable, and life is very comfortable for them in this reality that is their life and how it's living. And then there's things going on in the real world where they're like, shit's about to get real, and maybe they don't see it coming.
How to manage all of these different emotions, how to have like a lighthearted scene with Rose, who is my favorite character. She is adorable. She is funny. I love her. Go from that into a terrorism scene and violence and death and war. Anyway, I'm not sure what I will do to remedy this, because I like both of these scenes, the pizza scene and this scene set in Nigeria, but I just know they cannot really follow each other, these chapters. But this comes back to what I need to tell myself about second drafts. Writing the second draft, it's real easy for me to fall into a trap of thinking it has to be perfect. I have to get everything right. And this is not the case. Something I tell myself when I do first drafts all the time is that it's just a first draft. It won't be perfect. I will do 6 other drafts at least. So there's a lot of time for me to fix it. The goal with this draft, the first draft was 56,000 words. So not quite even 50% of the book. Hopefully with the second draft, I could get it up to like 80 or 90% right. And then the third draft, hopefully with that, I could get the main story pretty much all resolved. And then from that point on, it's only editing. So even though right now I feel like everything has to be perfect, it really doesn't. I'm still going to do a third draft after this, which is largely writing related.
Well, I will say good luck to you on that project. I'm going to stop the video there because we're closing in on 2 hours. But thank you, Sean, for sharing that. And I will leave a link to this video if you guys want to finish the video, and to Sean's channel in the description after the show. How was I going to say something? I forgot what I was going to say about that. Oh yeah, about the drafts. I would say, you know, if you're, it sounds like your other 2 books, where you say 120,000 words, something like that, and you're only at 56 on this. See, and that's why I say writing a novel is not easy peasy. It's a big endeavor to take on. Quite a project, I have to say, when it comes to writing a novel. Like now you're in a position where, you know, I wouldn't be so worried about the type of scenes that you're writing as much as I would be worried about adding in too much fluff, because, you know, if you're less than halfway to your word count goal. And if you even have word count, as like me, for instance, like I don't really have word count. I don't think about word count when I'm writing a story. I just think about format. Although I haven't written a novel as of yet. But I understand that it's a very large undertaking, which is one reason why I haven't written a novel yet, because I'm the type of person, like, I like to have little mini victories, which is why I like to write in the short story format. I'm trying to perfect my short story format. And I'm also, and I also write in flash fiction format. So I focus on format, and I know what to deliver for a particular format. So like for instance, with a novella, I would probably write a novella myself. I'm going to write a novella before I dive into writing a debut novel, for instance, because I know with a novel, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of plot points, and I'll have to actually plan out some of the beats alongside that as well, have the character arcs in mind, some world building aspects in mind, all these things laid out almost like a storyboard, if you will, before I even get into writing the novel. If you can pants a whole novel, my hat's off to you. Not something that I would be interested in doing myself, but that's just me. I can do planting when it comes to writing my short stories, like I say, because in my short stories, it's almost like writing an essay, but in a story form. So like I have specific plot points that I want to make, and then I can just kind of pants the story beats itself. Flash fiction is like, it's just a single event, really. It could just be a single event. So flash fiction is really about capturing a moment, capturing an event, illustrating a particular characterization. It's very zoned in, and not always so easy to do. It sounds easier said than done when you're writing short form. But the thing that I like about short form is, even though it's not, just because it's shorter than a novel or novella, doesn't necessarily mean that it's an easier task to do. To basically tell a complete story in the shorter format, especially flash fiction, I find, to do a complete story in flash fiction length. Yeah. That's 2 hours. I'm going to call it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And if I'll be here for you guys next week, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. And I hope you all have a lovely week.